In my recent journey of, let's call it entrepreneurship, or at least trying to work for myself, something that comes across very often for me is consistency. What a lot of people are saying, of course, what I've also been saying to myself for a very long period of time. And I always thought that consistency meant that you have to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again to become better at that certain thing. And to a certain degree, that's also true. But what I've come to find out for myself, at least, is that it isn't very much about trying to do the same thing over and over again. That's something that I was stuck with, because I always thought that if I now go into a different direction or try to do something in a different way, I felt like I was giving up and I wasn't being consistent. But the thing that I've learned is that it is very much impossible to know everything up front and to be able to know exactly what you should do. So if I look, for example, at somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo, for the people that know him, he is something that is very familiar with consistency, and a lot of people know him for his consistency. But I'm also very sure that if we would look at what Cristiano Ronaldo was doing 20 years ago, in comparison to what he is doing now, he doesn't do maybe even in the slightest the same things. He does very completely different things. And if you would ask him, he would also, I think at least, tell you and me that he just didn't know the things that he knows now. So, for example, for me, in trying to build my business, or at least working for myself, I have a lot of ideas and I try to do certain things, and I come across things that just don't happen to work out. But that gives me at least the opportunity to know what I shouldn't be doing, and also gives me, let's say, it filters out the things that just don't fit for me. It filters out the things that aren't working for me, and I'm able to make my group very, very much smaller. So I filter out, and I come only to a certain amount of things that might work out or not. So that means that I don't have to chase a lot of things anymore that I had in my mind when I started, or I had ideas that I had when I started out. I now know that those things don't work out, and I just don't have to waste any more energy or thoughts about them. And now I can just focus on less and less things. And that's something about consistency, that it isn't very much about doing the same thing over and over again, but more about just not giving up and just trying to go and just going through with different things, going in a different direction, figuring things out, learning that certain things work and learning also that other things don't work. I think that is more what consistency means. And that's basically in everything. If you look at, for example, sports, you start somewhere. Let's take, for example, Max Verstappen. If you would look at the first season he was in Formula One in comparison to what he is doing now, it's very, very different. And yes, he did the thing that made him consistent is by just keep showing up, going into sim racing or whatever it is that he was doing or is doing, and just not giving up. Don't tell himself that because he isn't where he wants to be now, that he failed or that he should quit, but just keep going. Find different ways, and I think that that's consistency. And for some people, it might be that they went in a completely different way, find out that didn't work out, and now have to go maybe even back and go into a different direction. That is also consistency, at least to me. That's how I look at it now, after a couple of months. And that also makes me feel better, because as I mentioned, I always thought that if I quit something, or because something didn't work out, or if something doesn't feel right, that I failed, and that I was to blame for it, that I wasn't consistent, and I didn't keep going. Well, in fact, I was just learning, figuring out what didn't work, learned that those things don't work, and now I'm on my way doing the things that do work and doing the things that feel much better for me. So that is basically the point that I'm trying to make. The thing that I've learned, the thing that I want to share, is that it isn't about keep doing things that don't feel right, that don't work out. You have to quit at some point and just take a different direction, and that's not giving up, that's not failure. That is basically consistency. just keeping going. But if I would say, for example, now I quit, I don't try to start my own business or work for myself, and I go back to doing something totally different, it is also okay, of course, but that might be not being consistent because I just quit. And that is at least the point that I'm trying to make. That's the thing I've learned. If you have any other experiences, please share them in the comments, let me know. And for now, again, thank you very much for listening.